Today on the Nerdy Gritty, we ask if gamers are too eager to trust and even forgive snake oil salesmen.
One more world disappears inside it. Just another hopeless addict. Well, that makes a man instead. If the drums don't get you, the guitars will.
Well, hey guys, welcome back to the Nerdy Gritty, where we delve deep into the details of pop culture. Hello there, I am Dez, and I'm here to sell you this wonderful remedy for all of your gaming needs.
And I'm Sheriff Fox, and I'm here to bring you off to the pokey for selling this poison.
It's actually just a hand cream that will enhance your gaming. You rub it on your thumbs.
Ooh.
And
why isn't gamer cream a thing yet? wait, hold on. Maybe don't call it that.
Nope.
Okay, let's not call it. Let's move on.
No. Well, nope. We have to. Bye. Podcast canceled.
Podcast over.
Oh man. Well, Fox, that was gross, but you know what's delicious?
New and improved gamer cream.
Extra creamy.
Extra creamy.
Food. Real good food is delicious. And you know what pairs well with food?
I just had some.
A good movie. A good
Agreed,
movie.
Yes.
And that's why
Right.
Warner Brothers has come together to create the Justice League meal kit.
What?
Oh, yes. I believe you can actually purchase, a gourmet meal kit, and like
a gourmet, like good food and not just here's some candy?
gourmet meal kit, yes.
Okay, like a Blue Apron kind of
Blue Apron and whatnot. It will get sent to you, and you can make this meal kit. So here's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Each of these meals is meant to represent a member of the Justice League.
Oh, this sounds just like the worst thing.
I would like to describe to you the meal, and I want you to tell me what member of the Justice League this is meant to represent.
I'm assuming it's members of the Justice League in the movie The Justice League.
Correct.
Okay, not historical, or comic book or whatever.
So we're going to start with both the
please.
easiest and the most hilarious. Are you ready?
Yes.
Icelandic cod and quote-unquote chips with trench dressing served in the canned tuna can.
Okay, obviously Aquaman.
Obviously, that's Aquaman. So
Yeah.
what they're
You
suggesting
eat one of
here
his friends
is
a fish.
this man who rules the kingdom of fish and can speak to these animals. Now
Wait,
you need
hold
to...
on. Can he speak to fish in Justice League? Is that a thing that happened? I can't remember.
I think he can control them with his mind. Like,
More
I think
of
he
like
can. I don't know if they
okay.
can have conversations like they can in the comics. He can have conversations with fish.
Right. He's mildly telepathic, and that also involves underwater creatures.
Exactly, but I think in the movie, he's just
It's more of
he can like weaponize them or whatever.
it's non-consensual control over.
Well, again, if they don't establish the fact that the fish actually have consciousness, like most beings
That's
are not
fair.
self-aware. So,
Yeah, not sapient.
but either way,
Okay.
this is suggesting that these creatures that he knows and loves and lives with,
He's all
let's
about.
cook
he
them up
just
and
chows
serve them in a
down.
can to represent him.
In a can. I love it. Oh man. All right, let's move on.
All right, you ready for this?
I am.
You order this kit, and it comes with an energy drink
Okay.
called Element X. It is a red energy drink. That's everything.
Okay. I mean, that's it.
Yep.
Obviously, the Flash.
No, that is Cyborg, you absolute fool.
What?
You worthless moron.
A red energy drink is what?
Because the red is meant to represent his red glowy power thing in the middle of his chest, obviously.
Sure.
And
That's
energy because
energy because robot.
I guess.
Okay, I'm really curious. Maybe my guess for the Flash will be it's Taco Bell because it moves really fast through you.
You need to get to the bathroom super quickly.
You need to be as fast as a flash if you're gonna eat this.
It's called Coolbra, spelled Koulbrau. Coolbra. That's the energy drink.
It's not called Booyah?
Oh, it's not called Booyah. It's not called
It's not called any of his catchphrases. It's called Cool Bruh.
at least okay, so it says in the article it's called Element X, but the
Okay.
actual picture of the can has Coolbra on it. Koulbrau.
Wow, man, who playing this one? That's weird. Okay.
Yeah, that's real weird.
All right. Well, I'm glad I already ate lunch because I've lost my appetite.
What else is going on in the news world there, Fox?
Everything.
No
Everything is
kidding.
going on the news. Everything, including video games.
Uh-oh.
Do-do-do-do-do-do,
Video
video
games.
games. Yeah, that's right. It's another of America's favorite segment, pro gamer movies. There's
Gamer
been some
movies.
news, a lot of casting news lately. But first, they revealed the title of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It's going to be called Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
Right.
So, big surprise.
But the 2 has the Tails
it
on it.
has tails on it.
Yeah.
Which, if there's anything clever you can do with that, it's that. So that's fair. Okay, but let's get on to the real news, and that is there have been major casting announcements for both the Borderlands movie and the Last of Us TV show.
I did not
Which
hear
I
the first
understand-
one. I didn't hear
Which
about
I understand
the
the
Borderlands
Last of Us TV show is not a movie, but just bear with, just let it
Yeah,
go.
it's
okay?
fine.
Get over
It's fine.
It's fine.
It's
So yeah,
Hollywood
so let's
based.
talk about Borderlands. They have cast. These are characters from the original Borderlands. I don't know. Have you ever really played Borderlands?
The first one exclusively.
Okay.
I played the
So
crap
yeah,
out of
these
it,
are
though.
all characters from the original Borderlands. So the first one, you got Lilith, the Firehawk.
Yep.
Eventually called the Firehawk. She being played by Kate Blanchett.
Really?
Great actress.
Fantastic
Wonderful
actress. Not who I saw coming to Borderlands.
Really really not in the realm. It's a very she's a very, I guess, dignified actress in the way that I consider her for, every character, they might be more serious than others, but everybody is funny in some way, at least their character. So that's an interesting one.
That
That's
is a
interesting.
really interesting casting choice.
It's
yes.
interesting. Tannis. Do you remember Tannis? She's like the scientist lady who's super antisocial and
Yes.
cares about nothing except for research.
Yeah.
Played by Jamie Lee Curtis. I actually don't think that's the worst.
Right.
I think
No.
Jamie Lee Curtis is very funny at times. She's funny on New Girl, and I think she's a great actress. She, again, though, a bit older than I expected.
Yep.
Not a bad thing inherently. It's just
No.
older than the cast of the game,
Oh, if Marvel has taught us anything, it's that you can cast people in
yeah.
their 40s and 50s and get fantastic roles out of
100%.
them. Well, on the note of games and news, one of our favorite games of 2020 has some DLC coming out for 2021, and I'm really excited for this enough that I put it in our news segments here. Spiritfarer has announced Spiritfarer has announced 3 new spirits, a new island, like all kinds of cool stuff coming out.
Bunch of content, yeah.
Yeah, all kinds of new content. And so my question to you is, Fox, is what do you want to see from DLC from Spiritfarer? What are you excited about? What would make you want to get back into the game?
What I'd like to see is, to me, I don't even care about new islands or any of that. What I'm more interested in is more spirits that you ferry around.
Yeah.
And I want to see more characters that you kind of don't like, but more explanation for why they are that way.
Man, there's one. There's a new character coming. This won't be until fall or winter of 2021. But I can't remember the names. But it's a patient in a mental home and the doctor. And the patient is a little bird, but the doctor is a jackal or a hyena or something with this really hideous grin. It's probably a hyena because of the grin. But
Sure.
I'm wondering if there's going to be some sort of like abusive relationship between the two, literally just from looking at the jackal itself, wondering what's going to be going on with this. But that's one that looks really cool to me. Also, our sister, our younger sister, like Stella's younger sister, is going to be one of the spirits, and it's going to come about when, as you have sent all the other spirits off, the flowers are left over. Eventually, all the petals from the flowers that are left over coalesce into another spirit named Lily, and it is your sister.
Well, what have you been up to? What have you been playing or watching or whatever?
I've also been playing Little Nightmares 2, which is, it seems like a lot more of the first. It's really fun. The aesthetic is really great, really Burton-esque, really creepy and whatnot. But it also has a lot of the same flaws that the first one had, where the platforming is just a little bit tough, a little bit wonky. And then some of the puzzle elements of it are like, you took half a step too far here, and now you have to go back to the beginning of your save points or whatever.
That sucks.
A little frustrating things like that. It's worth playing still, but it really does just take what could be a phenomenal experience and knock it down a couple of notches.
It just sounds like it needs a little more polish to it.
Yeah, just like simple quality of life stuff. Lastly, as far as video games go, I've been watching Christopher Rod. So Mr. Rod play Medium, the game Medium. And I'm glad I'm watching it because a lot of the puzzle elements are a little bit basic and I think would get kind of dull. And so whenever that happens, I'm able to distract myself doing something else.
Sure.
But they have taken elements of Resident Evil, like fixed camera angles and a lot of like a really good cinematography, cinematographical. I don't know. A lot of tension built with cinematography. They do a really good job of that. But also Silent Hill, where there's two different worlds that you're in. And cinematic is the word. I had to think about it. Cinematic. All right. So either way, it's really interesting, really unique. They do it really well. My favorite part is when you are discussing with a ghost on the other side, you will actually get a split screen. And you will see yourself in the real world in an empty room talking to no one, and yourself in the creepy ghost world where everything is Silent Hill looking and rotted and there's weird stuff all over the place, talking to a ghost. And you'll see these right next to each other. And you can watch all your movements, all your motion on the left-hand side, and you look like a crazy person talking to an empty room.
Well, I've been continuing to play Assassin's Creed Valhalla because it is very good and also very long, too long. So I'm not going to talk about it yet, but it is good. So mostly what I've got to talk about, like usual, is movies. I've watched several movies in the past week. The first one, the most interesting one, was The Graduate, the Dustin Hoffman movie from the 70s, 60s.
Oh, yeah. Exactly, oh, my goodness. Yeah.
Way back when. Yeah, Dustin Hoffman's first movie. And it is an interesting story. So it's famous because it's about, in part, this young man, this graduate, being seduced and having an affair with an older woman.
Right.
That's kind of what it's famous for. Also for the Simon and Garfunkel soundtrack. It is 100% Simon and Garfunkel songs is the soundtrack, which is interesting. It's a weird choice for this movie. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I think it's interesting in some ways, but this is a movie that suffers from a problematic viewpoint on relationships at the time.
Okay.
Let me give you the actual, plot, essentially. Young man, Ben, graduates from college, comes home, he has a summer off, essentially, is not sure what to do. He's kind of lost. He's not sure what he wants to do with his life. He's, kind of being coerced into certain fields, being like, what are you going to do with your life, young man? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he is essentially bullied, coerced into having this affair. He is absolutely complicit. He is absolutely it's consensual, but she is not. She is very forceful in her, seduction. I also watched a couple other movies. Seven, the David Fincher, Brad Pitt, movie.
Morgan Freeman
with the
Kevin
with the
Spacey.
murders and yeah. I mean, it's fine.
What?
This is a movie that I think is overrated.
What?
To me, it's good until the ending. Because I think a lot of the tension of the ending is given a lot of hype that it doesn't deserve. Because you are told the entirety of this villain's plan and like reasoning for doing what he does 5 minutes before it happens. Basically, I mean, spoilers for 7, but that's
spoilers
a pretty
for a
popular
40-year-old movie or whatever. Yeah,
it's like 25 at this point. But anyway, he says, like, he kills Brad Pitt's wife and says, "I did it because I'm jealous." And that was the 6th one, and then the 7th, all that, and it's just like, oh, okay, good to know. Like, I really think it would have been better if there was some kind of connection between these characters throughout the movie. So, yeah, those are a couple movies I watched. I'm in the middle of a couple others. I'll tell you, I'm in the middle of Man of Steel again.
And it's great, right? Such a good film.
We will be doing an episode about Justice League when the Snyder Cut drops.
Right.
And I do not like the Zack Snyder DC movies.
He does not like them, Sam I Am.
If I'm going to watch Snyder, the Justice League Snyder Cut, then I want to give it as much like of a chance as I can. And if he does something in it that works, if you remember a reference from Man of Steel that makes it a better movie, then I want to be there for that. So I'm watching this, and then I'll watch Batman v Superman again, and then, so I'll tell you, it's not a good movie
though. I watched I think it's a Netflix original movie. I'm Googling it right now just to make sure. Maybe not. No, I guess not. But an animated movie called Wonderpark. And it's a movie about a young girl who just, as she was growing up, she has this imaginary theme park that her and her mom have been working on together. And she is a very like STEM focused little girl and was engineering like model of rides and things like that. And it was so cool and so big that it begins to encompass their entire home. But then mom gets sick and has to go away, like has to go to a special treatment center away. And the girl becomes so scared and so lost without her mom that she ends up taking down the entire Wonder Park and boxing it and not throwing it away, but just like boxing it and putting it away. And then realizes that her like Wonder Park is a real place. Like her imagination had created this real place. And that when she boxed it, things started falling apart. And she ends up in Wonder Park trying to help rebuild it and remake it. Fun performances by John Oliver, by Mila Kunis is in there as well. But all in all, a bland-ish movie is fine. Again, we've said this 100 times before. I think Pixar has really spoiled you and I very much for kids movies, because this was another easy kids movie. It was kid had a lot of hope and a lot of good stuff going. Parents had sickness.
Tragedy.
Yeah, kid lost it all.
Yeah.
And they had to find it again somehow. And it's a really, really canned theme. And it was fine. I fell asleep for like the last 15 minutes of it.
That's not a good sign of any movie.
Like, it's just, but it was still fun. It's a good one to watch with your kids. Again, most kids' movies will entertain your kids just fine on their own.
Sure.
This is one of those films that will do that. But Pixar has proved you can make incredible kids' movies. Do that. Like, make better kids' movies, people. So, yeah. Well, that's all I got.
All right. That's all I've got.
Well, should we get down to the nerdy gritty?
Yeah, let's do that.
So before we do that, we want to let you guys know that if you're hearing this, you're listening to an edited version of the Nerdy Gritty. With all the crazy stuff that's been going on this past week, we are an hour into recording right now.
We are. Yeah, there was a lot going on.
Bafflingly, an hour into our recording, that Fox has cut down pretty heavily, maybe even removed entire news articles or stuff that we've talked about, whatever it is.
I have.
Yeah, whatever it is, Fox has cut down pretty heavily on this. And so if you want to hear all of those things that we're talking about, we have the director's cut of the Nerdy Gritty on our Patreon. You can head over patreon.com/DesandFox and become a second tier member or higher of the Nerdy Gritty, and you'll get access to the director's cut. It really helps us to be able to maintain costs, bring on guests, all kinds of cool things like that. But at the same time, it shows that you really like what we're doing, and it's really good feedback for us. If you can't do that, if that's not something you're able to do, we just appreciate when you tell people, when you let people know, hey, I listen to this podcast and I think it's really cool. Hey, you guys should go listen to this episode on the Nerdy Gritty. It was really interesting. We really appreciate you guys' support when you do that. Thank you again for listening. And now let's actually get down to the Nerdy Gritty.
Once again, before we get into that, though, I do want to just throw... I noticed this earlier today. Hey, happy Chinese New Year if you are somebody who celebrates that. It is the first day of the new year. It's the year of the ox. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Just want to get that out there. Anyway, so today
happy Chinese New Year, everybody.
We are kind of talking about two things. One of them is an actual blog post or a forum post made by Thomas Mahler, who is the game director at Moon Studios, creators of the Ori series, Ori and the Blind Forest, Ori and the Will of the Wisps. He posted on a forum called Reset Era about his post was titled, "Why are gamers so eager to trust and even forgive the snake oil salesman?" We'll talk more in detail about what he says, but in general, what he's talking about is there are people in the game industry who have had some pretty deceitful practices, and his premise is that the gaming audience, is too willing to forgive those people too quickly. So what we want to talk about today is both his statements and also kind of just in general what we think about this idea that maybe gamers are a little too quick to forgive game industry people who are deceitful in their practices or engage in things that would not be acceptable maybe if it were another industry sometimes.
Right. Along with that, we do also want to talk about the fact that he later came back and apologized for this.
Yes.
And so
we have a thing on Twitter.
Yeah, we'll discuss a little bit just about if this was something that was okay to say, that was worth saying, and
is there a better way to talk about this?
Yeah.
Things like that. So before we get into, we got a lot of details. Let's kind of go through a few things that are in this Reset Era forum post that he made. It's fairly long. I'm not going to read the entire thing. But essentially what he does is say there's something that I've been kind of getting riled up about for a while, and it's time for him to talk about it. So essentially he goes through a list of what's interesting is here he straight up names specific game developers, not the studios, the people themselves, and with the title essentially he's calling them snake oil salesmen. These include Peter Molyneux. He also includes Sean Murray, the head of Hello Games, who make the Joe Danger and more famously the No Man's Sky game, I guess, No Man's Sky.
Yeah.
As well as he doesn't name anybody specific as far as I can tell here, but he rails on CD Projekt Red for the whole recent debacle that you probably have heard about. We talked about it a little bit earlier in this episode with Cyberpunk 2077. So those are his major, here's the examples of what I'm talking about. And basically what he gets down to saying is, these people essentially lied to us and did terrible things, and now we're willing to forgive him.
The exact quote that I'm reading here is, I'd argue that all three of these are clear examples of you folks, meaning gamers, all being made fools of. And even the quote-unquote journalists in this industry happily played along each and every single time.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good lines, and I really enjoy, what I think separates this post from just any random person kind of complaining, because there's no limit of people who complain about these people. We've complained about the practices of of these, people that he specifically named before. This is another game developer.
Right.
Obviously a much smaller studio, but just as lauded in some aspects.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Ori and Will the Wisps
Yeah.
was considered one of the best indie games of last year. Like, they
more
are huge.
lauded than No Man's Sky, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When it came out, at least. No Man's Sky was also up for best ongoing game. But anyway, so I think that's really what has kind of hit the nerve here, because this is somebody who is in the industry, as well as he has said some very specific things. I think that's a big problem for a lot of people here, is that he is not just complaining about practices in general, but he is naming names and using pretty fiery language to describe his feelings toward these people and what they've done. So I think we should start right there and say, I will put a link to this down in the description, of course. You should go look through it. Do you think, let's start here, do you think there is a better way for, like, just at the start of this, a better way for him to get these thoughts out there?
Yes.
Is there a... Yeah, okay.
Yes and no. Both. I think what he did here was not a wrong thing. I think it was a bold thing to do, and something that he had to recognize would have consequences.
Sure.
As you read through this, he makes very bold, rough statements, but honestly, none of them are untrue. Nobody could read through this and say, that's not true, that did not happen. Everything he says is absolutely true.
Right.
Maybe you disagree with him on whether it's valid or not. Maybe you think that these people deserve forgiveness or whatever else. But all that being aside, the facts of the matter that he is stating here, these people have made horrific mistakes, sometimes intentionally lying.
Yeah, not mistakes.
Yeah, not mistakes, just outright lies. And yet gamers are very willing to forgive them of these very, very quickly. They should not deserve that. Now, one thing that I do know about Ori and the Will of the Wisps, or both of the Ori games, Blind Forest, Will of the Wisps, is nobody ever complained about them with their being broken, without any issues. And when you have a game that releases that polished, especially from an indie studio, that means that a crap ton of work went into that. A lot of dedication went in, and I can absolutely understand the frustration of, do you have any idea how much effort I put into releasing a game that does not come out like Cyberpunk, that does not disappoint you like No Man's Sky does? Do you have any idea the amount of work that I do to do that? And yet No Man's Sky is up for best ongoing game. No Man's Sky is up for an award along with my games that I work my tail end off for. I can understand that frustration. I genuinely can. So I don't think he's wrong in saying what he said and the way he said it, but I do think it was a bold statement, man. Oof.
Yes. It took some. Yeah, he had to know. It definitely seemed as though this was some, like, there have been plenty of times where I have written out a long ranting post and then said, you know what, this is probably a bad idea, and deleted it, and it still felt pretty good.
Yeah.
Because at least I got them into words, and I was able to, you type things out and like get some frustration out that way. It seemed like this could have been one where he should have had somebody next to him, or somebody just say, hey, read through this and tell me what you think, that kind of thing. Like, before I send this email, let me know what my tone is like. There's a very specific thing in here that gave me a lot of empathy for him. He, in one of the paragraphs toward the end of this article, or not article, but post, he says that there was at one point, Ori, I think, in the Blind Forest, Ori in the Blind Forest, 2014, was potentially going to be on the cover of some gaming magazine, but apparently No Man's Sky got it instead. And he said at the time, I'm paraphrasing what he's saying here, oh, that sucks, but also I get it. It's a bigger game. They're going to promote that more. They want to go for the more popular, more hyped up game. And then No Man's Sky came out, and it was just like, we all remember, or if you remember, a lot of lies went into the production of that game about multiplayer, about what you could actually do in the game, what it's, things like that. And so he saw that, like, that was like, he basically says, I had an eye opening at that point. Like, it's not about, oh, this is the one that deserves it. It's simply about the hype, stuff like that. And it kind of, yeah. So that gave me a lot of empathy. And like you said, everything in here, yeah, there's nothing in here that you can say factually didn't happen.
Right.
It definitely seems as though there could have been a more tactful statement.
Yes.
That could be made. Like, even if it was something as simple of like an editorial on a more reputable gaming website or something, where there's like an editor. This is a post on a forum, which I don't mean to say that takes away any of his argument. What I'm saying is that if he wants to create a dialogue or create a conversation, there's probably a better like way to go about that. And so, to me, the better way to do this was have the same exact message, even a similar tone. Maybe get somebody in there to kind of say, okay, you're coming off this way, and that's okay, but let's kind of clean up this language a little bit. Maybe at the same time as I'm saying this, I want to say, nah, he said what he wanted to say. He's not lying at all here. Like, people are just upset that he said the thing out loud that you're just supposed to think in your head if you're in the industry, So, like, there's two sides of it. That, like,
I'm reading through this, I'm leaning toward that second side here, just looking at this and showing that I think this was one of those situations where if he tried to go through a journalist thing, they would have edited and redacted and changed and cleaned it up a little bit. And he didn't want that. I think he said exactly what he wanted to say. And again, I'm not going to say he made the wrong choice. It was a dangerous and bold one. And now every game he puts out has to be perfect. He cannot release a game with a single bug.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Yeah, like he can't. He has put himself in a place where he's got to be perfect from this point forward. But he's frustrated. Not just like, man, gamers forgive really fast. He's frustrated that Cyberpunk is horrific, you guys.
Right.
Like 50% of the people can successfully play this game. That's an awful launch. That is a catastrophic failure. And now so many people are so willing to forgive them. No Man's Sky was a lie. It was a blatant lie. This was not a mistake. This was not game bugs. The game came out as they knew it would, and it was a lie. And now it's up for awards because they changed everything. And now you and I even say things, and again, we can talk about this more in a second, but you and I say we really respect them for making the game what it was supposed to be.
Right.
But do they deserve that respect? Like, shouldn't that, like, we respect them that they met the minimum requirements?
Yeah, I think what comes off here is that his major concern, his major issue, I mean, obviously he's probably upset with the state that Cyberpunk was released in, but it seems like his major concern, a snake oil salesman is somebody who lies about what they are selling. They are saying that this bottle is filled with something that will cure you, but in reality, it's filled with snake oil and it will kill you instead. Like, that's the idea of it's the first bounty you can do in Red Dead Redemption 2 is a snake oil salesman.
Well, there's no such thing as snake oil. It's literally just fake medicine is what snake oil is.
Sure, whatever. Yeah, just something in a bottle.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
usually opium or cocaine. That's usually what snake oil.
Yeah, that sounds good. I don't know what the problem is then. No, his problem is that people are lying blatantly and then getting away with it essentially, and still having, like, CD Projekt Red blatantly lied about their game's ability to even play on the most commonly owned systems, and still made, what is it, like 8 million pre-orders or something like that. Yeah, 8 million pre-orders. And I am 100% on board with what he's saying here.
Yes.
Like, the issue is not necessarily that there are bugs in a game. Every game is going to have bugs. I mean, every Ori game has had patches and updates. Every, like, software gets patched. That's how it works and has worked since software was a thing.
Right.
The issue here is that people are lying to the audience about what they have, what they are going to sell you, and then still being extremely successful and being forgiven by the audience because they said they're sorry, or they made some changes that should have been there in the first place. And on that note, yeah, no, 100%. He's right, and it doesn't matter. Like, I don't like, that's basic morality, like ethical, like ethics, like ethical ethics, basic ethics. Don't lie about the thing you're selling.
And that's why, I mean, his apology, if you kind of read through it, I'll give a gist of it. But what he says is, hey, what I said was pretty harsh. I'm a passionate gamer and a passionate person, and I'm passionate about my art and this art form, and therefore some things will upset me. But we should still remain respectful, and I was disrespectful, and I apologize for that. And I think that's an understandable apology. He never ever says what I said was wrong, or that he never says that I shouldn't have called these people out the way that he did, the way that I did.
Yeah.
What he really says is, I did it in a disrespectful way, and I shouldn't have done that, and I apologize for my lack of respect. And I think that's a fair apology. I still, though, like, I don't think that we would be talking about it in the way that we are if he hadn't been so, again, I don't know if disrespectful is even the right term. I think blunt is the right term.
Yeah, I think that's a better way to put it. Just uncensored, I guess. Maybe.
Yeah.
Like, just saying what he wants. This first draft. If he wasn't so first draft about it.
First draft is a great way to put that. So yeah. I guess here's my question then. So we talked about the situation itself and how he put it, but do you agree with him and what he said? Do we forgive too fast as gamers? Do these people deserve our forgiveness? Again, the example that I brought up was No Man's Sky. You and I, we both laud No Man's Sky for the patches they've made and how far they've come. Do they deserve
what they've
that?
added to the game?
Yeah. Do they deserve that?
To me, No Man's Sky is the gold standard of what should happen when you have a situation like this. When you have blatant lies, it's not like Sean Murray is a villain. If you ever like watch an interview, that guy, he's talked about, he has struggled with like he is not a very camera pursuing person. Like he's a pretty introverted guy. You can tell just from any interview with him and things that he's talked about. And he feels just as bad.
Yeah.
He has never ever said, deal with it, nerds. This is what you get. You know, he said, we're sorry. Like, there have been apologies and there has been action because of it. That does not forgive. That does not erase the fact that there were blatant lies at the start. They actively told you a couple days before the game launched, you'll play multiplayer with people, real people. And then you actually couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, that just wasn't a feature of the game when it was something that people really wanted. That doesn't get rid of the fact that they did that thing, but the gold standard is, and I think this is kind of the opposite, like, when we talk about cancel culture and the problem with it is that it doesn't allow for grace or forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, forgiveness is something that comes when you've, like, in this instance at least, when you've shown that it's not just words. Hey, we did a bad, and we're going to make it up to you by creating the game that we said we would. And over several years, well, it didn't take long for it wasn't several years to get to the game that they said they were going to make. At this point, they have gone far beyond that original game. But none of it they never charged for anything extra. It was all just free updates. Here's what, like, all with a contrite heart, in my opinion. And so that's the gold standard here. But I've been thinking about this a lot, and I discussed it with my wife a little bit, and I think this is kind of the double-edged nature of how invested people get into video games. It's not just, I went and saw a movie, it was bad, dang. It was, I love this medium, I love this company because they've made really good games, I know what they can do, I know what they've promised, and what they've given me was not satisfactory. Sure, there are lies. That's definitely part of it. But also, I was invested in playing this. I can't get into the story of the character that I really want to get into. Things like that. And there's a much more there is an interactive element, both physically interacting with the game and emotionally interacting with something. And when that thing, we put this, like, we love video games so much that I think sometimes we put the industry on a pedestal of, video games are awesome. that means everything involved with them is awesome. When in reality, people are fallible and people make video games. And so all that to say, I do think sometimes we can be too quick to forgive, because at the end of the day, it is an industry. It is a product we purchase. Buyer beware is always a thing. But I understand why we put so much passion into why we are willing to forgive, because we're very passionate about this medium.
I think that I agree with you. Very well said. Like, the passion that comes to this medium is very unique compared to other mediums. That's something that you and I have talked about a lot, the unique relationship that gamers have with developers compared to less interactive art mediums. But the struggle that I have with what he's saying here is that these are kind of three different situations. Like, Peter Molyneux manipulated sometimes. He was a success, and then he capitalized on that success often by saying, like, I'm part of this game, so you know it will be good. And then
he would also talk about, like, here's all the things I want to do with this game. And then he would oversell, I think.
Right. He would say, here's what I want to do, not this is what's going to happen. Right. There's some manipulation involved in it. Whereas No Man's Sky, I don't think that was manipulation. I think that was just genuine over expectation of yourself. Like, just, I think I can do all of this, and then you couldn't, and then the game released. But then you have worked very, very hard to make all of those things happen. And then in the Cyberpunk situation, this was just dumb. Like, this was a broken game that was oversold and rushed too quickly. Like, we got a lot of different situations here, and as it is in life with anything, you have to take each one individually.
Sure.
And I think that gamers, up until this point, there are some situations, like you said, that we're very passionate about and we're quick to forgive. But I also think there are situations in which we've learned our lesson and we don't. This is why people hate Acclaim so much when Acclaim existed. This is why people hate EA so much, because there have been situations in which a production company has failed over and over and over again, and we finally said, okay, now we will not forgive. Now you have taken us too far.
Unless you make active changes, we will not, buy your games now.
Absolutely. I do think that there are times, like, especially with Cyberpunk, like, I think this should be even more of a debacle than it is. They released not a game, and that's really, really rough. And so I think in that situation, was forgiven too quickly. I think No Man's Sky is the opposite. Like you said, I think it's the gold standard. I think Sean Murray has worked his tail end off, and he brought some more people into his studio, and
that team as a whole, not just Sean, but
right. That team,
the very small team, made it work.
Has created a great game and has paid off on everything they promised and more. Good job, guys. I think that what he's describing are different situations. Some of them, yes, we were too quick to forgive. Others, I think we were appropriate to forgive. And what he doesn't mention here are the times that we did not forgive. That gamers turned around and said, no, we want none of your garbage.
This is a bit black and white, to reference Peter Molyneux again. It's very, and also at the end of the day, he mentions 3 people, 3 instances.
Right.
In an industry where hundreds of games are released every year, most of which, the vast majority of which, perfectly fine. Like, have some bugs that need to be fixed, but they're fine. It is painting the industry as a place where the audience is nothing but a bunch of fools and, doofuses who are falling for, stepping on a rake. It's like that Sideshow Bob gif of him just, like, stepping on a million rakes, like, just hitting a rake, getting hit in the face, taking one step in a different direction. He's painting us like that, where we're just constantly saying, you're bad, but also, game, please, here's my money. No, that's not how it goes. Most consumers have at least some semblance of, you know what, I should actually think about this for a second. I don't actually like this company. Like, there's a lot more nuance to the discussion here that I wish was involved in his post.
He's got a quote here from his original article that I will quote but edit for language. I know this whole thread might come off as me sounding bitter, and I'm sure there'll be some people that see me as crapping on other devs. No, I'm not. I'm crapping on liars and people that are okay with openly deceiving others. I'd argue that we should all agree that this is not okay. If I go and buy a car and the car salesman sells me a car that supposedly has 300 horsepower, but on the drive home after the purchase, I noticed that he switched out the motor when I wasn't looking, I'd be rightfully angry because I was deceived.
Sure.
That I agree with. Yeah. I am 100% there for that. Openly deceptive practices should not be forgiven so quickly. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And there are situations in which that has happened in gaming. And sometimes we're too quick to forgive. Other times we didn't. Other times we ostracized studios for that. I think that we as gamers should have a standard on deception. There are mistakes. There are honest mistakes that are made. There are, again, if we can't just blame CD Projekt Red. This is a studio with hundreds of people that work in it. Mm-hmm. You can't point the finger and just say you did a bad, because there's hundreds of people. Some people did a very good, I'm sure.
Yes. The question with the CD Projekt Red, none of this is black and white, is that even we learned afterward that like the developers got to sit down and have a conversation with the like business head, the not developers, management. The production side, management, yeah, and just like, hey, why did this happen? Like, to say that it's CD Projekt Red is saying that every single developer, every single person who coded everything, like they're all to blame, when in reality there are two sides to the industry. There is the money-making, like, business side, and there is the development side. And when you, like, CD Projekt Red, or CD Projekt is a big enough company that they are able to do both.
Right.
And it's just such a hard sell when you try to tell me that this project, or this developer is bad because of this thing. There always needs to be as much nuance as possible in this discussion. And I think that's where he could have improved his statement. Because at the end of the day, he's right, but there could have been more nuance to what he's saying, more examples, more like, hey, let's have an actual conversation here, instead of, I'm angry about these three things, everybody's a fool. Like, that was very frustrating to me.
And I think there are times that gamers have appropriately learned, like if an EA game says, and with online store, or, with add-on content, gamers,
you know what that means.
Yeah, gamers are trepidous of this. We immediately all know, we know EA, we know their practices. I don't trust that. I have not forgiven you for your previous, mistakes, because you continue to do them, and I don't trust you.
Clearly not learned, yes.
Yeah,
so absolutely.
I think there are times that we are too quick to forgive. I think there are times that we very appropriately forgive when forgiveness is earned, and it needs to be. And I think there are times that we do not forgive because people should not be trusted sometimes.
What I do want to say here on the audience side, what I think I have given up this practice, but I do not think we should, as an audience, continue to pre-order games. I think this just feeds into, we have to show you something cool, and then that's enough. Like, we have to show you a cool video or show you a cool demo, because CD Projekt Red showed a lot of cool stuff and then delivered none of it.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, they had already made and then some their money back. They had already been profitable before the game came out. And that's a real problem, because that does not incentivize a developer to change its ways.
That's tough, because what we're really saying here is gamers shouldn't be so eager to play games immediately, because what happens is production amounts are based on pre-orders. We know how many games to make because of how many pre-orders there are. Otherwise, you just kind of have to guess, and they don't want to guess, so they'll always guess low so they don't waste money, in which case stores will get sold out very quickly for a game that's very good. And when a store is sold out quickly, that will leave there being demand, and that's what we get upset with when there are systems, when there are consoles, is that demand becomes too high, and we get annoyed with that as well.
See, that's why the shift to all digital, while I understand is not available to everybody, because internet is not ubiquitous yet, that's why the shift to digital is good. There is no such thing as a supply, a glut or a dearth of supply when it's digital.
Absolutely.
So I would always say, if you have it within you, wait until at least the day of or a couple days after, read reviews, see what people are saying. Then if it seems to be a good purchase, go ahead and buy that game.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for listening. We would just want to say that all of this is our opinion. Of course, we want to hear your opinion. Let us know what you think about what Thomas Mahler said. Let us know what you think about the practices of companies, whether they're deceitful or deserve forgiveness or whatever else. Let us know, man. You can comment on this video, or you can comment. I guess that'd be the only place they can comment. I don't know. Can you comment on Spotify or SoundCloud? No.
No, it'd be on YouTube. Send us a letter in the mail.
Yeah, handwrite
to 123 Fake Street, Portland, Oregon.
We want to say a huge thank you to Granger for the use of the theme song. All my friends.
Hey, wait, hold on.
What?
You know what?
What?
You know what you could do is join our Discord.
You could join our Discord. Yes.
We want more people. I'm going to put a link to our Discord. We're wanting to make that a lot more available to everybody. So if you want to talk to us about what you thought about this episode, go ahead and join our Discord. We'd love to talk to you.
We'll put links to that. We'll have provide ways for you to join our Discord.
Yeah, there will be an invite in the description.
Yeah.
For sure.
Thanks to Granger for the use of our theme song, All My Friends Have Wi-Fi, and so do some of my neighbors, off of the album Dear Sam. I know that I go back and forth on the title of that song, but if you put in Granger, All My Friends Have Wi-Fi, you will find it.
You're going to find it.
You'll find it. It's a really good song off of a really good album.
Sorry, Luke. Sorry, Tori.
Fox knows Granger. I don't know them personally, so I'm not sorry. Just kidding.
So you are not. You're okay with it.
This is where you talk about what's on our YouTube channel.
I don't want to.
Oh, all right.
Okay, I guess.
Okay.
So go ahead and check out our YouTube channel as well. We've got a lot of videos. We're still playing Night in the Woods, which has been really fun.
Yeah.
We are almost to the end of it, although I've said that several times and we haven't finished it yet. So that, as well as my very long playthrough of Valhalla. It's a good game. It tells some good stories, but it's a long game.
I'm going to have a lot of stuff going up soon because a bunch of games dropped that I'm really eager to play.
Yeah.
So like I said, I've been playing and recording Little Nightmares 2. And so that'll start going up soon. Bloodborne the Old Hunters. I'm finally back in the groove with that. That will go up soon. I faced a couple of other hunters in there and did really, really well against them. Haven't died. And so that's really good. I feel good about that. Yeah. And then The Room Old Sins. The Room is a puzzle game that I'm a huge fan of. One of them just released on Steam, and I'll be playing that. I might be streaming that. So I'm going to have a lot of content coming out soon, too.
Cool.
Oh, right. This is where I finish the podcast by saying thank you again for listening, everybody. And always remember that saved games save lives.
Have a good one.